One day I walk outside and my car's gone. Turns out my parents sold it. And somehow I was the one who ruined the family. I still can't believe it. It's a feeling I can't even describe. It's like you wake up and the world is normal. You're thinking about school or what you're going to eat for lunch. And then you walk outside and the whole world just stops. The air in my lungs just disappeared. There was just this empty space on the street. No blue car. No blue. Just nothing. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it was going to break right out of my chest. I thought I was going crazy. I thought, it's been stolen. That would have been better. I wish it had been stolen. My name is Sarah. I'm 19. Back then I was just a normal college student trying to figure things out. I wasn't special. It was just me. This story. It's really hard for me to tell. It's about trust and what happens when the two people you're supposed to trust most in the world just break that trust into a million pieces. If you've ever felt completely, totally betrayed, maybe you'll understand. It would mean a lot if you'd stick with me through this. Maybe even subscribe. Just helps to know that people out there get it. It's a really lonely feeling, you know? Thinking you're the only one this has happened to. It helps to know I'm not just talking into an empty room. If you could just do me a small favor. Comment and let me know where you're watching from. It makes the world feel a little smaller, a little kinder. I like to think that when we connect like this, even just for a second, something good finds its way back to you. I really hope something wonderful happens for you and your family, just for reaching out. Before I had Blue, my life was so small. I know that sounds dramatic, but it was true. I was 19, but I felt like I was still 12. I had to take 3 different buses to get to my community college classes. I'd stand in the pouring rain, my backpack getting soaked, just feeling stuck. If I wanted to see my friends, I had to ask my mom or dad for a ride, just like in middle school. It was embarrassing. I just wanted to be my own person, you know? I just wanted to be able to go where I wanted, when I wanted. I saw her on a beat-up old car lot. She wasn't new. She wasn't shiny or fast. She was a 10-year-old light blue hatchback. My friends were all dreaming of brand new cars. But I just saw her. She had a little rust spot on the back bumper and a small tear in the driver's seat. But she was perfect. I named her Blue right there on the spot. She wasn't just a car to me. She was a promise. She was the key to, well, to me. I knew right then I had to have her. I just had to. That first summer I got a job at a local diner. I was a busser. It was awful if I'm being honest. I smelled like old coffee and French fry grease all the time. My feet ached so bad that I'd just sit on my bedroom floor for an hour when I got home, too tired to even take a shower. I worked doubles every single weekend. While my friends were at the lake or going to parties, I was wiping down sticky tables and hauling heavy bins. But every time I got that paycheck, I didn't spend $1. I put it all in an old envelope marked Blue. One summer wasn't enough. Not even close. So the next summer I got 2 jobs. I worked at the diner from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. Then I'd run across the street to the movie theater and work the concession stand from 3 until midnight. Barely slept. I lived on free popcorn and flat soda. My friends almost stopped calling me because I always said no. Sorry, I have to work. It became my answer for everything. I was just so focused. Could taste it. I was so close. And then the day came. After 2 whole years, the envelope was full. I counted it 3 times, my hands shaking. It was the most money I had ever seen in my life. I walked into that car lot feeling 10 feet tall. The owner remembered me. I handed him the big, lumpy envelope of cash. And then he handed me the keys. I can't even describe that feeling. My own keys. For my own car. I sat in the driver's seat and just breathed. The car smelled like old upholstery and cheap air freshener. It was the best smell in the world. That car changed everything for me. I wasn't Sarah who needs a ride anymore. I could drive myself to class. I could stay late at the library to study without worrying about catching the last bus. I could pick up my friends. We'd drive around with the windows down, singing at the top of our lungs to bad songs on the radio. That little blue car was my hard work. Every time I turned the key, I felt proud, felt safe. It was my own little world. My space. Nobody could touch it. I truly believed that. I was so wrong. I'd had blue for about 6 months. It was the best 6 months of my life. I was finally getting ahead. I was happy. And then, things at home started to feel weird. My parents, who were always so happy and loud, started having these quiet, tense conversations at the kitchen table. The second I'd walk into the room, they'd just stop talking. Just silence. I'd ask, "Is everything okay?" My mom would force this bright, fake smile and say, "Everything's fine, honey. Just grown-up bills." But my dad wouldn't even look at me. I felt this cold little knot in my stomach. Something was wrong. I just had no idea it had anything to do with me. Or my car. I tried to ignore the cold knot in my stomach. I really did. I kept telling myself I was being silly. Why look for problems? My parents were finally smiling. They weren't whispering at the kitchen table. They were giving me a weekend off, a little vacation with my best friend, Amy. I should have been happy. I should have been excited. But as I threw my backpack in the passenger seat of Blue, I just couldn't shake this feeling. This heavy, dark feeling that something was really, really wrong. I just didn't know how wrong it could be. It wasn't just the whispers. It was other things. Small things. A few weeks earlier, I couldn't find my car's spare key. I always kept it on the little hook by the back door. I wasn't worried, I just figured I'd misplaced it. I asked my mom if she'd seen it. She jumped like I'd scared her. "The key." "Well, I haven't seen it at all, honey. You know how messy you are. It'll turn up." She was smiling, but she was already walking away, like she couldn't get out of the room fast enough. Why would a simple question about a key make her act so strange? Then there was the man in the nice suit. I'd come home from class, and he was standing on our porch talking to my dad. My dad looked small. He looked embarrassed. The man wasn't yelling, but his voice was hard. He pointed at a piece of paper he was holding, and then he looked past my dad, right at Blue parked on the street. He looked at my car for a long time. When he saw me coming, he stopped talking. He just nodded at my dad, got in a fancy black car and drove away. My dad's hands were shaking. When I asked him who that was, he snapped at me. "It's nothing, Sarah. Just mind your own business. Can't a man have a private conversation?" I was so shocked. My dad never talked to me like that. Ever. I just backed away and went to my room. I felt tears in my eyes. The house didn't feel like my home anymore. Felt like a stranger's house. Like a place full of secrets I wasn't allowed to know. And all the secrets seemed to be swimming around my parents. What was so bad that they had to hide it from me? But now they were all smiles. Go. Have fun," my mom chirped, pushing me toward the door. "Amy's waiting." It was like they couldn't get me out of the house fast enough. That was the part that felt the weirdest. They weren't just letting me go, they were making me go. They even gave me $200. "For gas and food," my dad said, stuffing the bills into my hand. $200. Just 2 days after he told me to mind my own business about the man in the suit. Where did they get $200 from? I should have asked. I should have stayed. I should have demanded they tell me what was going on. But I didn't. I was 19. I was tired of the fighting, tired of the whispering, and tired of the heavy, sad quiet. A free trip to the beach sounded easy. Sounded like an escape. So I took the money. Got in my car. I put the key in the ignition and Blue started right up like always. I looked back at my house. My mom and dad were both standing in the doorway, waving. They looked so happy. 'Twas a lie. It was the biggest lie of all. We had a great weekend. Amy and I. We really did. We drove with the windows down, the salty air whipping our hair. We played our music way too loud. We ate junk food and sat on the beach and talked about our futures. For 3 whole days I forgot about the whispers. I forgot about the red envelopes. I forgot about the sad, tired look in my mom's eyes. I just let it all go. Felt light. Felt happy. I felt like a normal 19-year-old. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe everything was okay back home. On Sunday afternoon we drove back. I was tired but in a good way. My skin was warm from the sun and I felt peaceful. I dropped Amy off at her house. Best weekend ever, she said. I agreed. I drove the last 10 minutes to my street, thinking about taking a long shower and sleeping in my own bed. I turned the corner. I was yawning, looking forward to just being home. I pulled up to my house. And my heart stopped. It didn't just pound. Just stop. I think I forgot how to breathe. The space was empty. The spot on the street where I always parked blew. It was just an empty patch of pavement. I blinked. I thought I was seeing things. No, I whispered. No, no, no. I thought maybe I'd parked on a different street. But I hadn't. I always parked in the exact same spot. It was gone. My car was gone. My stomach twisted into a knot so tight I felt like I was going to be sick. My first thought was, it's been stolen. Someone stole my car. I fumbled for my house keys, my hands shaking so bad I could barely get the key in the lock. I burst through the door. Mom! Someone stole my car. Blue is gone. We have to call the police. The house was silent. They were both sitting on the sofa in the living room, just sitting there. They weren't watching TV. They were just staring at the blank screen. They looked up when I ran in. They didn't look surprised. They didn't look scared. They just looked guilty. And in that 1 second before anyone said a single word, I knew. I knew it hadn't been stolen. I knew exactly what happened. And the betrayal. It hit me so hard I couldn't even stand up. I just stood there in the doorway, my bag still on my shoulder. The house was so quiet. It was the loudest quiet I've ever heard. My heart was thumping, but it felt slow. My parents just stared at me. They didn't move. My mom had her hands twisted in her lap. My dad was looking at the floor, at his shoes, at anything but me. They knew. They knew why I was standing there. They knew what I was about to ask. And they didn't say a single word. I just waited. Where? I said. My voice was just a whisper. Didn't even sound like me. Sounded like a little kid. Where is my car? I was begging them with my eyes. Please just tell me it got towed. Tell me it's at the mechanic. Tell me you borrowed it. Tell me a lie. Tell me anything. Anything but the one thing I already knew was true. I could see the truth in my mom's eyes, and she couldn't hold it. She looked away. That's when I knew for sure. My whole body went cold. My mom finally spoke. Her voice was thin like paper. Sarah, honey. Please. Please just come sit down. I shook my head. I couldn't move. If I sat down it would be real. No. I don't want to sit down. I want you to tell me where my car is. Right now. Mom. Dad. Tell me. I was still being quiet, but the quiet was starting to shake. I could feel a scream building up in my chest. It was hot and sharp, and I was trying to hold it down. My dad cleared his throat. He still wouldn't look at me. He just stared at the blank TV. It's gone, Sarah. That's all he said. It's gone. I took a step into the room. What do you mean, it's gone? Gone where? Dad, where is it? He finally turned his head. His eyes were dead. There was no life in them at all. We sold it. He said it so simply. Like he was telling me we were out of milk. Like he was telling me the weather. We sold it. The words just hung in the air. They didn't make any sense. My brain just stopped. Couldn't put those words together. Sold. Sold my car. You what? I whispered. I needed him to say it again. I had to have heard him wrong. You sold it. I looked at my mom and she was crying now, silent tears just rolling down her face. You sold Blue. My voice cracked. I wasn't whispering anymore. I was waiting for them to say April Fools. Or it's a joke. But they just sat there. My mom started sobbing. We had to, baby. We had to. she cried into her hands. We didn't. We didn't have any other choice. That's what broke me. The scream I was holding down just exploded. A choice, yelled. My voice was so loud it scared me. You didn't have a choice. You didn't even ask me. You didn't even tell me. You waited until I was gone. I couldn't breathe. The betrayal felt like 1,000 sharp needles stabbing me all over. They had sent me away. That weekend. That money. It was a lie. It wasn't yours to sell. I screamed. I threw my bag on the floor. That was my car. I paid for that car. I worked for 2 years. Every single day. That was my money. My work. Mine. I was crying so hard I could barely see them. I was pacing back and forth, I couldn't stand still. I felt like I was going to be sick all over the living room floor. How could they? How could they do this to me? The 2 people in the whole world. My dad stood up. His face wasn't sad. It was hard. It was angry. That is enough, he said, and his voice was low. It was scary. Do not talk to your mother like that. We are a family. We are in this together. What's yours is ours. That line. That one line. Stopped my crying. It was like he'd poured ice water on me. What? I said, wiping my face. That's not how it works. That's not what family means. You stole from me. You stole my car. The word stole just hung there. My mom gasped like I'd slapped her. My dad's face got dark. His eyes got narrow. We did what we had to do, he said, walking towards me. We did it to keep this family from falling apart. We did it to protect you. Something you clearly don't understand. What was he talking about? Protect me. What did that mean? The man in the suit. The whispers. It all came rushing back. What was happening that I didn't know about? You should be thanking us, my dad said. His voice was cold as stone. We saved this family. And you come in here screaming and crying, being selfish. All you can think about is your stupid car. I couldn't speak. I was completely broken. They stole from me. They lied to me. Now, I was the selfish one. I was the bad guy. I looked at this man, my father, and I didn't know him. He was a stranger. And then he said the one thing that broke me completely. You have no idea what we saved you from. Saved me from what? What was so terrible that they had to destroy my life to fix it? Saved me from what? Yes. My voice was shaky. I felt dizzy, like the room was spinning. What are you talking about? What was so bad? I looked from my dad's hard face to my mom's tear-streaked one. I was desperate. I felt like I was in a bad dream. Maybe if I just understood, it would make sense. Maybe it would stop hurting so much. But what could be so bad that they had to do this? What secret was so big that it cost me my car? My life. My dad let out a long, tired breath. He looked old. Older than I'd ever seen him. I lost my job, Sarah, he said, so quietly I almost didn't hear him. My blood went cold. What? When? He'd been leaving every morning, dressed in his work clothes, carrying his lunch bag. 6 weeks ago, he mumbled, looking at the floor. I've been looking. But nothing. We've been using the credit cards. We used everything. He'd been lying. For 6 weeks, he had been pretending to go to work. And my mom. She knew. She knew, and she let him lie to me. The man you saw, my mom whispered, her voice trembling. The man in the suit. He wasn't a friend, honey. He was from the bank. My stomach twisted. The bank. Why? My dad's face got tight. We got behind on the house payments. Not just one. A few. He wouldn't look at me. We were going to lose the house, Sarah. They gave us a final notice. We were going to be put out. On the street. The words didn't feel real. Lose the house. Our house. The one I grew up in. Felt sick. Homeless. That's what he was saying. We were going to be homeless. My anger was still there, burning hot, But now there was this new, cold feeling. Fear. We needed money, my mom cried. We needed it fast. Not next week. We needed it by Monday. Or they were going to change the locks. Your dad. He tried everywhere. He tried to borrow it. No one would help us. She was begging me to understand. And a part of me felt the fear. I didn't want to be homeless. But the anger was still stronger. But my car. Choked out. Why blue? Why not? Why not sell the TV? Or your jewelry? My mom looked down at her hands. Your car. It was the only thing, my dad said, his voice flat. It was the only thing worth anything. That we could sell fast. For cash. It was just easy. Easy. That word again. It was easy for them to take the one thing I had worked for. The one thing that was just mine. It was easy for them to shatter my trust. And that's not even all of it, my dad said, his voice dropping low. My head snapped up. What? What do you mean? Not all of it. My mom looked at him, her eyes wide with fear. Don't, she whispered. She doesn't need to know. My dad ignored her. There was someone else. Not the bank. I borrowed money from. A bad person. My blood turned to ice. A bad person. What did that mean? Like a criminal. What had my dad done? He shook his head like he was trying to clear away a dark thought. You don't need to know. You just need to know that we were in danger. Real, physical danger. I just stared at him. This was too much. Losing the house was one thing. But this. We did it to protect you, Sarah. To protect this family. He took a step toward me and his face changed. The sadness was gone. The fear was gone. All that was left was anger. Anger at me. And you, he said, his voice like ice. You come in here. After we have been through hell. After we just saved this family from being torn apart. And all you can do is scream. All you care about is a stupid car. I flinched like he'd hit me. It wasn't a stupid car. I yelled back, the tears starting again. It was mine. It was my work. You didn't even ask me. I would have helped. We could have sold it together. Or something. Oh, stop it, my mom suddenly snapped. Her voice was sharp. It wasn't sad anymore. It was mean. Stop being so selfish. You're acting like a baby. We're a family. And families make sacrifices. You don't see us crying, do you? You are tearing this family apart with this drama. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was tearing the family apart. I was being selfish. They were twisting everything. My dad pointed a finger at me. Your mother is right. You're making this whole thing 1,000 times worse. You're ruining everything. After everything we did. This is the thanks we get. You should be grateful. I just stood there, my mouth open. I couldn't speak. They stole from me. They lied to me for weeks. They told me my dad was in danger from a bad person. Now, I was the bad guy. I was the one ruining the family. I looked at my mom, my heart breaking. And she just crossed her arms, standing next to him. They were a team. And I was the enemy. I couldn't breathe. It was like all the air had been punched out of me. I was ruining the family. I looked at my mom, who was just nodding along with him, her arms crossed. I looked at my dad, who was staring at me like I was a piece of trash he'd found on the floor. They weren't just wrong. It was crazy. It felt like I was in a nightmare. Like I was in a movie where everyone's face is normal, but they're all monsters underneath. I didn't say anything else. What could I say? They had an answer for everything. They had twisted the whole story until they were the heroes, and I was the selfish, screaming baby who didn't understand. I just turned around. I couldn't look at them. I couldn't be in the same room with them. I picked up my bag from the floor, The one I had packed for my fun weekend. That fake weekend. I walked past them out of the living room and down the hall to my bedroom. My hand was shaking so hard I could barely turn the doorknob. Got inside. I shut the door. And for the first time in my life I locked it. I heard the click. It was such a small sound, but it felt final. It felt like I wasn't just locking them out of my room. I was locking them out of me. I slid down the back of the door until I was sitting on the floor. And I just sat there. I didn't cry. I think I was too hurt to cry. I was just empty. Hours went by. The sun went down. My room got dark. I just sat there staring at the wall. I could hear them. I heard the TV turn on in the living room. Heard them laughing. They were laughing at a show. Like nothing had happened. Like they hadn't just blown up my whole entire world. They were just watching TV. They didn't knock. My mom didn't come and say, "Sarah, honey, let's talk." My dad didn't come and say he was sorry. Nothing. It was like I had just disappeared. The next morning my alarm went off for class. The sound was so awful, so normal. I felt sick to my stomach. For just 1 second I had forgotten. And then it all came crashing back. The empty driveway. The fight. The blame. My car was gone. My freedom was gone. I had to go to class. But how? I looked out my window. It was raining. Cold, miserable rain. I got dressed. I put my books in my bag. I didn't have a choice. Had to take the bus. I walked out of my room. They were in the kitchen. My dad was reading the paper. My mom was making coffee. They both looked up when I walked in. "Morning," my mom said. Her voice was bright. Too bright. It was fake. "Morning," I mumbled. I just walked to the front door. "You're not having breakfast?" she asked. I stopped, my hand on the doorknob. I couldn't even turn around. "I'm not hungry," said. "Where are you going?" my dad asked, his voice rough. To the bus stop," I whispered. The walk to the bus stop was awful. It was the same walk I had made for 2 years. The same 2 years I had spent working to never make this walk again. The rain soaked through my jacket. I was freezing. When the bus finally came, it was packed. I had to stand, holding onto a cold, wet pole, surrounded by strangers. Felt so small, so humiliated. Every bump in the road, every stop, I just felt angry. This was my life now. They hadn't just sold my car. They had pushed me all the way back to the beginning. When I got home that afternoon, the house was quiet. I walked into the kitchen and my parents were there again. They were talking in low voices, just like before. The whispers. When they saw me, they stopped. "Hi, honey," my mom said. How was class?" I just looked at her. "It was fine," I lied. I dropped my wet bag on the floor. I couldn't hold it in. "So that's it?" "Yes. We're just going to pretend this didn't happen." My dad put down his newspaper. His face went hard. "There's nothing to pretend, Sarah. Done. We've moved on. I suggest you do the same." I just stared at him. Moved on. Had been one day. He'd moved on from selling my car in one day. "My money," I said, my voice small. "The money from the car. Am I getting it back?" My mom wouldn't look at me. She just stared into the sink. My dad actually laughed. It was a short, sharp, ugly sound. "What money?" "The money we used to pay our bills. The money we used to keep a roof over your head. That money is gone. There's nothing to talk about. You need to drop this now." And that was it. "We'll pay you back. We're sorry. Drop it." It was gone. All that work. All those hours. All that time. It was just gone. And I wasn't allowed to be sad. I wasn't even allowed to talk about it. Drop it. Those 2 words just bounced around in my head. Drop it. It was like they had built a giant, invisible wall right down the middle of our house. The house I grew up in. It wasn't my home anymore. It was just a place I slept. Cold, quiet place. My parents went back to acting normal. Or their new normal. They'd ask me, "How was school?" And I'd just say, "Fine." We ate dinner at the same table. But no one talked. It was this heavy, awful silence. Felt like I was eating with two strangers. Strangers who had stolen my future and then just decided it never happened. I couldn't live like that. I just couldn't. I felt like I was going crazy. I felt so alone, trapped in that house with them. I had to tell someone. I had to know if I was the crazy one. Was I really being selfish? Was I really the bad guy? I needed one person, just one person to tell me I wasn't. So I called Amy, my best friend, the one I had just gone on that fake setup weekend with. I asked her to meet me. I needed to see her face. I needed to tell her everything from the beginning. I needed one person to be on my side. We met at a little coffee shop near the college. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my cup. It all spilled out of me. The whispering. The lies about my dad's job. The man in the suit. Coming home to that awful empty driveway. The fight. And then, the blame. I told her how they called me selfish. How they told me I was the one ruining the family. I just started crying right there in the coffee shop. I finally let it all out. I looked at her waiting. Just waiting for her to say, "Sarah, that's horrible. Your parents are terrible." I needed to hear it. But she didn't say that. She just looked uncomfortable. She stirred her coffee, not looking at me. "Wow, Sarah," she said. That's a lot." She kept looking down. "I mean, they were going to lose the house. That's really, really scary." I just stared at her. My tears just stopped. "What?" said Amy. They stole my car. They lied to me." She finally looked up. "I know," she said, and her voice was so small. "But, I mean, it is just a car, right? But it's their house. It's your house too." Whoa. I felt my stomach just drop. Not her. Not her too. "They're your family, Sarah," she said. She put her hand on my arm, but I wanted to pull it away. Maybe you are being a little hard on them. I mean, they must have been so scared. And you're all safe, right? You're not homeless. He's your dad." I couldn't believe it. I couldn't speak. She wasn't on my side. She was on their side. She was defending them. "It's not just a car," I whispered. It was mine." She just gave me this sad look. A look that said I was the one who was wrong. I left the coffee shop. I didn't even say goodbye. Felt worse. I felt a million times worse. I thought I was alone before, but this was a new kind of alone. Even my best friend didn't get it. She thought I was the problem. I walked home. I didn't want to take the bus. Just walked. Took 2 hours. The whole time I just felt numb. When I finally got to my house, I walked in. My mom was waiting for me. She was standing in the middle of the living room. And her face was furious. "Where were you?" she snapped. Her voice was like ice. I was just out," I mumbled. "You were with Amy, weren't you?" My blood went cold. How did she know?" "Her mom called me," she said, her voice getting louder. "She called me to ask if everything was okay. She said Amy was worried about you. Worried about how upset you are with us." My mom's eyes were narrow. You told her. You told her our family business." I took a step back. I just needed to talk to someone." "You humiliated this family," she screamed. My dad came out of the kitchen. "What's going on?" "She told Amy," my mom yelled, pointing at me like I was a criminal. "She's out there telling the world our private problems. Making us look like monsters." My dad's face went dark. I told you to drop this, he said, his voice low and dangerous. I told you. You're not allowed to talk about this. Not to anyone. Do you understand me? You are shaming us. You have no idea what you're doing, my dad said, taking a step closer. Backed up. You think this is a game. You think this is just about a car. The people I told you about. The bad people. They don't like it when people talk. They don't like attention. You running your mouth. You could be putting us all in danger. Real danger. My heart stopped. Was that true? Or was it just another lie? Was it another way to control me? To keep me quiet? I couldn't tell. I just broke. Couldn't take it. Ran. I ran to my room, slammed the door and locked it. I could hear them yelling from the hallway. My dad was pounding on the door. You open this door, Sarah. We are not done talking about this. I just slid down to the floor, covering my ears, sobbing. I was trapped. Had no car. Had no money. My best friend thought I was selfish. And my parents were acting like I was the enemy. Like I was the one who had done something wrong. I was truly, completely alone. And I was scared. I stayed locked in my room for, I don't even know, a day. Maybe 2. The pounding on the door finally stopped. My dad's yelling just faded away. And then, nothing. Just that heavy, cold silence again. My room was my only safe place, but it also felt like a jail cell. Had no car. Had no money. Had no friends. I was trapped. I was a prisoner in my own house, and my parents were the guards. They had all the keys. And I was just stuck. Eventually I had to come out. I was so hungry and I had to go to class. When I walked into the kitchen, my mom was there. She just looked through me. Like I was a ghost. She didn't say, "Good morning." She didn't say anything. She just poured her coffee and walked away. It was worse than yelling. The yelling meant they still cared, at least a little. But this silence. It was a punishment. It was their new weapon. They were pretending I didn't even exist. So I went back to the bus. Back to the cold mornings, standing in the rain. Back to the long, long rides. Took me an hour and a half to get to class. An hour and a half to get home. That's 3 hours every day. 3 hours of just thinking. 3 hours of my dad's words spinning in my head. Real danger. Bad people. Was that just a story to scare me? To keep me quiet? Or was it real? What kind of trouble was my dad really in? And if it was true, had I really put them in more danger just by talking to Amy? I knew I couldn't stay. I just couldn't. This wasn't a home. It was a trap. I wasn't just sad anymore. I was scared. But I was also angry. A different kind of angry. Quiet, cold kind of angry. It wasn't loud. It wasn't screaming. It was a plan. I needed to get out. I didn't just want to get out. Had to. For my own sanity. For my own safety. But to do that, I needed money. The one thing they had taken from me. I had to start all over. Back at zero. That afternoon I didn't go home. I took a different bus. I went back to the diner. My old boss Maria was surprised to see me. "Sarah, I thought you were done with this place," she laughed. I just stood there. "Please," I whispered. Can I have my job back? I'll work any hours. Weekends. I'll clean the bathrooms. I don't care. Please. I really need the money." She looked at me for a long time. She saw the desperation in my eyes. She just nodded. "You can start tonight." I worked a double shift. My feet ached just like they used to. I smelled like old coffee and grease. I didn't care. When Maria handed me my tips at the end of the night, it was just a small handful of crumpled bills. But it felt like breathing. It felt like the first breath of air after being underwater for too long. It was mine. And they didn't know about it. This was the start. This was my real secret. The next day, I didn't go to the bank my parents used. I took a bus all the way across town, to a part of the city I'd never been to. I walked into a tiny little bank. I opened a checking account. Just my name. My new address was a P.O. box I rented at the post office. I put my tiny handful of tip money in. It was almost nothing. But it was mine. It was hidden. It was safe. It was my escape fund. I fell into a new routine. Go to class. Take the bus. Go to work. Work until midnight. Take the last bus home. My parents, they barely saw me. And when they did, I just walked right past them. The sadness. It was changing. It was hardening like concrete. I wasn't that crying girl anymore. I wasn't that person who begged them to understand. I was quiet. I was focused. I was a ghost in their house. And I was saving every single penny. They started to notice. I wasn't fighting with them. I wasn't crying. I was just gone. "You're always working," my mom said one night, blocking me in the hallway. Her eyes were suspicious. "What are you doing with all that money? You're not in some kind of trouble, are you?" I just looked at her. Worried about me being in trouble. I almost laughed. "I'm just working, Mom," I said and pushed past her. They thought they had won. They thought I had dropped it. They had no idea. One night I came home late. I was so tired I could barely see. I unlocked my door. Stop. Something was wrong. My room. It was wrong. My desk drawer was open just a tiny bit. The books on my shelf were out of order. My mattress. The corner was pulled up just a little. My heart stopped. They had been in my room. They had searched my room. They were looking for my money. They knew. They knew I was saving. I felt a cold, sick feeling. I reached under my mattress. I kept a tiny envelope there, just with bus money. It was gone. The little envelope was empty. It was just empty. It was maybe $30. Just enough for me to get to work and back for a few days. It was nothing. It was everything. It was proof. They didn't just come in. They didn't just look. They searched. They went through my drawers. They looked under my bed. They were hunting. And then, they took it. After everything. After selling my car. After telling me the money was gone. They came back. And they stole my bus money. This time I didn't wait. I didn't hide. I wasn't scared. I was just cold. Felt like stone. I walked right out of my room, the empty envelope in my hand. I walked into the living room. They were right there, on the sofa, watching TV, laughing at some stupid show. Like they were the most normal, happy parents in the world. Just stood there. I didn't say anything. I just stood in the doorway, staring until the sound of their laughter died. Until they finally noticed me. My mom's fake smile just melted. "Sarah, honey, what's wrong?" I just held up the envelope. You were in my room." I didn't yell. My voice was flat. It was dead. "You went through my things." My dad's face went from relaxed to angry in 1 second. "What are you talking about?" "I didn't." "Don't accuse us of things, Sarah." It was so fast. So easy for him. It was like breathing. "My bus money," I said. "It was under my mattress. And now it's gone." I looked right at my mom. You stole from me." Again. She flinched. She couldn't hold my eyes. We were just." She stammered. "We were worried, Sarah. You're never here. You're always working. You're so secretive. We had to make sure you were okay." That word. Worried. They weren't worried. They were checking. My dad stood up. He wasn't even going to pretend. "Worried. Yes, we're worried. We're worried about who you're talking to. We're worried about what you're doing. This is our house. We have a right to know what's going on. He was trying to be big, trying to be scary. But I wasn't scared anymore. A right, said. A right to. To what? To search my room. To steal my money. You think you have a right to do that? Yes, he yelled. I do. You have no idea the kind of the pressure I'm under. That situation I told you about. It's not over. These bad people. They don't just go away. We had to make sure you weren't being stupid. That you hadn't brought trouble to this house. There it was again. The big dark secret. The bad people. Was it true? Was he really in danger? Or was it just the perfect excuse? The perfect excuse to control me. To make him the victim and me the problem. So, what? Yes. I'm just a prisoner here. I'm not allowed to have $30. You took my car. Now you're taking my bus money. What do you want from me? My dad's face was red. What do we want? We want you to help. We want you to be a part of this family. That money. That's the least you can do. To help pay for food. To pay for the roof over your head. You live here, you help pay. And that was it. That was the moment. It was like the whole world just clicked into place. It wasn't about the house. It wasn't about bad people. It wasn't about danger. It was about control. They couldn't stand that I was saving. They couldn't stand that I had a secret. They couldn't stand that I was building a way out. They wanted me to be stuck. They wanted me to be as poor and as scared and as broken as they were. They didn't just take my car. They wanted to take me. I looked at him. This angry, scared man who was my father. I looked at my mom who was just sitting on the sofa, crying into her hands, too weak to stop him. Too weak to stand up for me. Just nodded. Okay, I said. My voice was just a whisper. Okay. I didn't fight. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just gave up. I just turned around. I walked back to my room. I heard my dad yell, okay? That's it. That's all you have to say. Okay. He was confused. He wanted me to fight. He wanted me to scream. That's what he knew how to handle. I was done. I went into my room. I shut the door. And I locked it. I sat on my bed in the dark. And I felt calm. They thought they had won. They thought they had finally broken me. They thought they had taken my last dollar. They had no idea. They hadn't found what they were really looking for. They hadn't found my bank book. And they had no idea that tonight was the night. I was leaving. And I was never ever coming back. I sat on my bed in the dark. My door was locked. The house was quiet. My dad had finally stopped yelling. He thought he'd won. He thought he had broken me. He thought that by taking my $30, he had taken my last bit of hope. He had no idea. I wasn't broken. I wasn't even sad anymore. I was just done. This wasn't my home. It was a place I was trapped. And tonight I was finally leaving. I slid my old textbook off my shelf. The one from a class I'd finished last year. It was thick and boring, and I knew they would never think to look inside. I cut a little square out of the middle pages. And inside was everything. My bank book. My social security card. My birth certificate. All the things that made me. They had searched for cash. They were so busy looking for little scraps of money. They never even thought to look for the real thing. All my money. All those shifts at the diner. It was safe. It wasn't a lot. It was maybe $900. Felt like $1 million. It was enough. It was enough for a bus ticket. A bus ticket far away. I didn't have a big, smart plan. I couldn't wake up in that house one more time. I couldn't look at their faces. Couldn't breathe their air. I had one person. One tiny little thread of hope. My mom's sister. My Aunt Clara. I barely knew her. My mom always said she was messy and wild. But she was the only one I had. I grabbed my phone. My hands were shaking again. I opened a new message. I typed, "Aunt Clara, it's Sarah. Are you awake?" My thumb just hovered over this send button. What if she was just like Amy? What if she told me I was being selfish? What if she told my mom? I didn't have another choice. I squeezed my eyes shut, and I pressed send. The little blue bubble just sat there. Delivered. It didn't say read. Just waited. An hour went by. Nothing. The house was so quiet. All I could hear was the clock. It was almost 2 in the morning. She wasn't going to answer. She was asleep. I was really truly on my own. My heart just sank. Okay, so I just go to the bus station. Just buy a ticket. Anywhere but here. That was even scarier. Being completely alone. My phone screen lit up. The buzz on my bed was so loud I jumped. It was her. New message. "Kid. It's 2 a.m. What's wrong? Call me." I stared at the words. Call me. I couldn't talk. If I talked, they'd hear me. I texted back. "I can't. I'm in trouble. Have to leave. They're not good." My phone buzzed again almost right away. Okay, kid. Don't panic. Where is the nearest bus station to you?" I couldn't believe it. Okay. No questions. No. What did you do?" Okay. I told her. She texted back. "Buy a ticket to Denver. It leaves at 5:30 a.m. Can you get to the station by yourself?" Denver. That was 3 states away. That was so far. I typed. Yes. Her last text came. "Okay. I'll meet you at the station when you get here. Be safe. And kid. Delete these messages. Right now." I did. I deleted the whole thing. I grabbed my old backpack. Not my school bag. The one I used for life. I stuffed in 2 pairs of jeans, a few shirts, my toothbrush. I put my textbook. My real textbook. At the very bottom. Put my shoes on. My feet were. They were like ice. My whole body was buzzing. I stood up. I walked to my door. I put my hand on the lock. This was it. This was the last time. I slowly turned the little knob. The click of the lock opening sounded. It sounded like a cannon. Just froze. I didn't breathe. Waited. I just stood there, my hand on the doorknob. I listened. I heard my dad snoring. A deep, heavy sound from their bedroom down the hall. They hadn't heard. I opened the door just a crack. The hallway was dark. I slipped out. I was like a mouse. Tiptoed. Every board in that hallway. I knew just where to step. Got past their door. I got to the living room. Got to the front door. My hand was on the lock. And I stopped. I looked back. Just one last time. In the dark I could just see the shapes. The sofa. TV. The picture on the wall. The one of me when I was 6. I was on my dad's shoulders at the zoo. We were both laughing so hard. My mom was standing next to us and she was smiling. A real smile. We were happy. What happened to them? That bad person. That danger my dad was so scared of. What if it was real? What if I was abandoning them? That picture on the wall. It held me there for a second. It was from the zoo when I was 6. I was on my dad's shoulders, and we were both laughing so hard. My mom was standing next to us, her smile so real. We were happy once. A cold wave of guilt hit me. What if my dad was right? What if I was abandoning them right when they were in real danger? What if this bad person was going to hurt them and I was just running away? My hand almost went back to the lock, to lock us all back inside safe. But then I remembered the feeling of my empty room. I remembered my bus money gone. The danger. Maybe it was real. But the betrayal was real too. And that was the thing I couldn't live with. I slowly turned the knob. The click of the door opening sounded like a gunshot in the silent house. I froze, not breathing, just listening. I could hear my dad snoring down the hall. They hadn't heard. I slipped outside, pulling the door shut so gently. The cold night air hit my face, and it made me feel real. Made me feel awake. I pulled my backpack straps tight. I didn't run. Just walked. I walked down the driveway and onto the dark street. Every car that passed, my heart hammered in my chest. I thought it was them or that bad person from his stories, coming to drag me back. I just kept my head down and walked. The bus station was cold and mostly empty. It smelled like stale coffee and sadness. I walked up to the counter, my whole body shaking. The lady behind the glass looked so tired. "One ticket. To Denver," I whispered. "One way." She didn't even look up at me. $112, she said. I pulled out the money I had earned. The money they hadn't found. I slid the bills under the glass, and she slid back a small piece of paper. That ticket. It was the most important thing I had ever held in my hand. It was my freedom. I found a seat in the back by the window. I sat there for what felt like a year, just waiting. Finally they called my bus. Got on and the doors closed. The bus pulled out of the station, driving through the dark streets of my town. We passed my college. We passed the diner. We passed all the streets I had walked my whole life. And then we were on the highway. As the sun started to come up, all pink and orange, I watched my old life just get smaller and smaller in the window, until it was completely gone. I wasn't sad. I wasn't scared. I just felt empty. The bus ride was a long, dark, shaky blur. I don't think I really slept. When we finally pulled into Denver, the station was huge. There were so many people, all rushing around. I stepped off the bus and felt tiny. I felt so small and so scared. I just stood there holding my backpack. What if she didn't come? What if she changed her mind or I got the wrong day? What if I was truly, completely, all alone in this brand new city? My stomach twisted and I thought I might be sick. And then I saw her. My Aunt Clara. She had this wild, curly red hair, and she was scanning the crowd. When she saw me, her face just lit up in this big, genuine smile. She walked right up to me and she didn't ask a million questions. She didn't ask, "What did you do?" or "Are you sure?" She just opened her arms. I fell into her hug and I just broke. I cried for everything. For my car, for my parents, for the fear, for the betrayal. And she just held me. She just held me tight and said, "It's okay, kid. You're safe now. You're safe." That feeling. Just being believed. Being safe. It's everything. It's the whole reason I'm telling you this story. I know there is someone out there watching this right now who feels trapped. You feel like you're the crazy one. You feel like you're the one ruining everything, even when you're the one being hurt. If this story meant anything to you, it would mean the world to me if you would just like this video. Or maybe share it. You never ever know who in your life might need to hear it. Who might need to know that they are not alone. It's really hard to talk about this. It brings all those feelings back. But if you want to know what happened next, how I tried to build a brand new life from nothing, maybe you could subscribe to the channel. It helps to know that people are out there listening. It makes me feel less alone and it gives me the courage to keep sharing my stories. Life with Aunt Clara wasn't magic. Her apartment was tiny, and I slept on a lumpy old sofa for the first 6 months. But it was honest. I was happy. We would sit and talk and she just listened. She got angry for me. She helped me get a new job at a little bookstore. She helped me sign up for classes at the community college there. It was so hard starting all over. But every single part of it, it was mine. No one was searching my room. No one was stealing my money. Could finally just breathe. Oh, the texts. They came. After a few weeks. From my mom. Sarah, where are you? We are worried sick. And then, please come home. We miss you. This is tearing your father apart. But in all those texts, in all the sad voicemails, there were 2 little words that were never there. We're sorry. They never said it. They never ever admitted that they did anything wrong. They still thought I was the one who ruined the family. I realized home isn't a building. Home is trust. And they had burned that trust down to the ground. I couldn't go back. It's been 3 years now. I'm standing right here next to my car. She's not much. She's an old green sedan, and she makes this funny rattling noise when it's cold. But she is all mine. I bought her with my own money. Pay the insurance. I hold my own keys. I learned the hardest lesson you can learn. But I learned it. I learned that I am strong. I learned that I can save myself. And as I get in and I put my own key in my own ignition, I just smile. 'Cause I am free.